Hello, hello. Am I coming through? Can you guys hear me okay? Hey, everybody. Let's see here. All right. Hello, hello. How's it going, Ben? Josh. All right, cool, cool. There's a bit of delay, so I'll navigate that as we go. Yeah. Cool. All right, let's see here. Yeah. Doing good. So there's probably roughly, I don't know, 8-second delay. So bear with me if you ask a question. It's very surreal. It's like you guys are in the past, I'm in the future. All right, so let's see here. All right, so what I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to go over an exercise that I think is a good thing for people to do, especially newer animators to do when they're getting in that kind of like that place where they want to try things out, they want to practice, but they're not sure what to do. Maybe their ideas aren't fully fleshed out, or they want to have something quick and dirty they can just jump into and animate real quick. And so it's one of the things I did with Ben, right? Where you find 3 poses and then you just basically figure out how to animate an animation around those 3 poses. So you have a kind of a beginning, a middle, and an end. And then you just basically go through and you kind of start with those 3 pillars, and then you work through and try to find the shot around that. So it can be a lot of fun because, there are many ways to get through 3 poses basically, right? And so, yeah, it can be a lot of fun. Okay, let's see here. How you guys been? You guys doing good? Thanks for coming out tonight. I appreciate it. Let's see here. Hopefully, we'll have 1 or 2 more show up. It's a slow start. This is gonna be one of those things where I'm gonna basically, we got to start somewhere, right? And so tonight's the first one, and it's gonna be a while. It's gonna be a long, drive to build this audience, but I'm looking forward to getting started and hopefully giving some value back. So cool. Well, I appreciate you guys being here. All right, so do you guys have any questions or anything? You guys doing good? If you guys have any work you want to show, we can do that too. All right, so let's jump into it here. All right, so here's my screen here. Yeah, you two are the first. How exciting, huh? All right, so these are the 3 poses I chose, and basically, as you guys know my style, right? I love to go to Pinterest and just absorb content and build boards full of really cool stuff, right? And so, that's one of the things that I've constantly always doing is just basically, I would say to everybody, build a Pinterest account and just fill it full of really cool vision or visuals, very cool, like, combat stuff. I've got everything in here from like combat to gesture imposing, facial animation, character building stuff, Western combat, all kinds of good stuff. Sword combat, which is kind of fitting for tonight, but not too much. So, but yeah, like I said, I just went through and I was like, what can I kind of cover tonight and kind of talk about? And I figured, let's do the 3 pose thing. And so I'm going to just go through a block out tonight. And if you have any questions about what I'm doing, just shout out. you know. And I'll try to remember to look up once in a while and see if you've typed anything. So, okay, so we have a guy here in kind of a ready position with his weapon. We've got a guy in the middle who's airborne, and then we've got a guy at the end who's a very familiar character for us. And then he's also just kind of in a ready pose as well, but almost like a finalized pose. So my thinking was I wanted some directionality. So I thought I would start with a pose that was more neutral in our first panel here, and then have our character basically kind of evade. And instead of going forward, I want him to jump backwards. And so this middle pose right here is kind of what I'm thinking, but I'm going to give him more of a line of action. I think I want to push the pose more, and just get something really graphic in the pose. And of course, like I said, a reversal too. So he's moving away from whoever the enemy is in this case. And then I want him to do something in the air along with how he's jumping, right? And so I'm not sure what yet. We'll figure it out. I'm going to kind of get into my imagination a little bit as we go. And then I'm going to have him come down into a kind of a landing with kind of a wide stance, hit kind of fast, maybe do a step back. So maybe I'll have him come down right foot first and then step across with his left foot, maybe behind, and then right foot back, settle the pose into kind of a ready offensive, defensive kind of posture. Okay. So again, taking 3 just pieces of, visual, and then kind of trying to figure out in your imagination what you would do with it, So cool. Makes sense? Yeah. All right. Cool. So I'm going to keep this up here a little bit off screen. So I'm going to use the Jiro character that I have for the course. And then I'm just going to kind of use those visuals to start off with. Okay, so tools I'm using for tonight, Tween Machine. I love Tween Machine. I always have Tween Machine ready to go, right? I've got the picker, the Jiro picker, so I can quickly grab controls. And then I've got my Pose library, which is just Studio Library. It's free. And I have it open mostly for hand poses, but I'm also going to potentially save out poses as I create them in case anything ever happens to the scene. I have my poses saved out. I can use them again, or I might want to use them in a different shot another time, right? And so I think it's a good tool to have at the ready all the time. Okay, and then regarding the constraint setup I have in this scene, I basically have the sword in the right hand right now. The sword drives the motion and the hands follow. In this case here, I've got both hands constrained to the sword, and one of them is turned off. So the left hand is here. It's turned off right now, and it's free floating. Each hand has 2 locators. One's an offset. And then what I've done is I've put the sword in body space so that if I move the body, the sword goes with it. And so even though my arm's in IK, if the hands are on the sword, they'll move with the body. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, why would he do that? Because don't you want to pose the sword? And my thinking would be, yes, I want to be able to obviously use my sword control, which is a locator. Here, I'll bring this down here real quick. This is how I've got it set up here. So we have basically our right, left hand locators are locked off because they're constrained. We have our offsets, so I can move the hands away from the prop. And then I've got the sword control here. So for the most part, when I'm moving the character through space, it's easier just to bring the sword with it. And then I have, of course, my control to offset any motion. And then what's nice is I can always turn it off. So it's got its own constraint. So I have a control here. I can easily keyframe it off and on. And so if I want to do something completely free from the body, I just have to turn that off. Very simple. And that's pretty much it. So it's a pretty simple setup. Pretty simple. All right, cool. How we doing? We doing good? You guys with me still? All right, let's get to it. So we've got our first key. Let's see here. I don't need all these. Let's get rid of all this stuff here. Let me grab all these here and make sure I have a clean scene here. We wanted just that one pose. All right. What is moving? Let's see. Yeah, okay. All right. Goals. Sorry, there's something moving here. I don't know what. Let's make sure we've got everything here. There we go. That should just about do it. Cool. All right. Cool. All right, so let's go to it here. And I'm going to grab this first pose here. So again, looking back at this pose here, it's a pretty neutral stance. He's pretty low, you know, back arm's kind of ready to go. And front arm is more or less just kind of neutral. I'll play with that pose a little bit, but the idea is basically more of a defensive posture. And so we want to just kind of, think about what we want to do with that pose, right? So nothing too crazy here. And then we'll go from there. All right, so let's get him down here. We want some contrast here. I wish I could see both of his feet, but I don't think I need to really. Kind of get the idea here. It's got a little bit of forward rotation here. So I'm going to just push this idea here. That back leg is pretty far out on his pull vector here. And then this back foot is pretty far out as well. It's funny, we're really profile here, so I got to be careful how we pose that because it definitely feels different, right? Potentially how you stage it. It's weird not being able to hear you guys. I'm so used to being in classes where, we can all chat and talk. It's really weird. It's very strange. Let's do a little bit back here on the pelvis. I think I'm going to go over more on the torso in general here. So we just want to get the core working here initially here. Just make sure he's in balance here. And Jiro's kind of a tough character in some ways because he's so thin. All right, that should work. All right, let's do that. And then I am posing for a camera, yeah, right here. This is my camera right now. Now, keep in mind, I'm going to keep it very loose. I'm going to probably make some adjustments along the way. But yeah, I keep glancing over at my camera roughly, But I will work quite a bit in perspective, just initially, at least if nothing else, so that I can just kind of see what I'm doing. And then I can make adjustments in the camera view pretty easily for the most part. Let's get this clavicle up a little bit. It's a good question, though. For the most part, typically it's a good idea to pose for your camera, right? Or have a camera in general because you want to make sure that you've got, some kind of home base to kind of go to. I've seen a lot of students pose in perspective and then try to play blast kind of from roughly where they posed it from. And you can never quite get back to where you were, right? It's impossible, right? So, but you can you can kind of get in the ballpark maybe if you're lucky. But yeah, I would just say start with the camera and then figure out the rest as you go. In terms of adjustments you want to make or whatever, you know. Because like even like right here, right? If you look at this perspective view, I might just suddenly go, ooh, I like this a lot, and then I start posing to that, not really thinking about my camera. Or if I don't have a camera, I've just kind of made myself like, this is my ankle now, and then I'll pose the character and make adjustments, and then I'll kind of come back to that rough composition, and then I'll just, you know, kind of play in that playground a little bit, right? Which may not be the best idea necessarily. Let's see here. Let's pull our pole vector down a tiny bit. Yeah, like even here, right? Just that front hand feels a little bit different in the camera. And then of course, we'll use our backspace here, or our backslash with our keys to zoom in on our camera. And then this is obviously pretty heavy in imagination, so I don't have a full game plan here. But again, this isn't meant to be like a production shot. This is meant to be practice. This is meant to be a way for you to get into your imagination a little bit and problem solve and find solutions for things and to pivot on the fly as well, right? Just because there's going to be moments where, you know, you just get stuck and you're like, well, what can I do here? Well, let's go through our options. Maybe I have A, B, C, D, right? And so it's not a bad idea to kind of flex that muscle a little bit, right? You know, for sure. Let's see. Is this zeroed out? Yes. Okay. Cool. So here I'm negotiating that leg, right? Trying to figure out how wide to make that. I've been doing games for a while now to the point where I'm always trying to think about the character from most angles. And I don't want to say all angles because you know, I have this opinion that you'll never get the character fully perfect in every angle. You just can't do it. There's just going to be some angles that they're just not going to be as appealing as other ones, you know? And so it kind of is what it is, you know? And that's okay though, you know? I think you have to figure out a majority of where people are going to see your characters, and especially the player too, when you're playing the game, you know? And those rules are kind of similar in feature film as well, where you're always thinking about, you know, what is the best angle for my performance, right? I want my audience to see it from a certain perspective and a certain graphic quality to it as well, right? You know, and then execute that, right? How often do you use a camera? You mean in terms of moving the camera or a static camera, like versus a static camera? I'm curious. Because if you're talking about going back in after the fact and like really doing full camera adjustments and full camera reworks on top of a scene, you know, that's kind of tough, right? And I've worked on movies before where we finished shots. We finaled a shot and it went away, you know, and then 2 months later you see it in the folder and it's in lighting and you're like, oh, I want to see my lit shot, and you see it, and only to realize that layout took your shot after you were done and recomposed the camera completely, and all your poses look funky now. They're not quite the same, right? So I would oftentimes err on the side of don't do crazy camera stuff after the fact. And then if you're going to have a moving camera in this scene like this right here, I probably would want to do something along with my blocking and kind of figure out what I want to do with the camera and keep it kind of rough so I can adjust it, but then just keep in mind that I'm posing to it, right? And so I don't want to do anything that's going to be detrimental to my posing, you know, or potentially destroy the energy of the shot, or just put it in a place where it just doesn't work as well anymore, you know? So that's what I would just say, just be careful, you know? But if you're going to do something with cuts, that's a whole different thing too, right? So I would almost go as far as to say with that kind of idea, if I'm going to go back in here and say, you know what, I'm going to do like 3 camera cuts, or maybe I'm going to do 2, and I'm going to do something where the camera transitions during the airborne part of this. So I can get like maybe an under shot where the character goes over or something and lands or something, or maybe I'm going to come around the front or something like that. I might be okay doing that after the fact to a degree, only because I have control over that content, right? And so I can make adjustments and I can make judgments on what I'm doing, and I can make quick pivots if it's not working, right? And so I think it's a good idea to think about that as well. But for the most part, you know, I would say work on them together as much as possible, you know? So I'm actually going back to school right now with getting more involved in like camera stuff, because I spent most of my career relying heavily on layout artists to do a lot of my cinematography. And I have a decent understanding of camera stuff. You know, I understand the basics pretty well. I'm comfortable with like, you know, my my over the shoulder shots, my 2 shots, my, you know, my establishing shots, just things like that are, you know, you get pretty comfortable with, right? Okay, let's play with this control a little bit here. So I'm gonna get a little better silhouette right there. Some of these controls are very interesting on the gyro rig here. You know, I'm not even sure what you'd call that. It's basically an IK control for the neck, right? You know, so, but yeah. And then this one back here, I've never even used it, but it's probably the same thing, or I probably could just use this for general spine motion. But the old school animator in me wants to have that analog approach where I'm like touching the controls. And in fact, I mentioned in the course at some point that, you know, having a character with what, 1, 2, 3, 4, basically 4 controls is very not what I'm used to. I'm used to a character with 3 controls and an entire torso, pelvis, mid body, and then chest, and then a neck and head, and that's it. So this is definitely you know, flexing that exercise and that muscle of managing multiple controls. Okay, so I think that's pretty decent for a beginning pose to start with. And let's just get into our second pose. I'm going to go ahead and just block out the 3 poses and then figure out how to get there after the fact. And I'm going to keep it simple for tonight. I'm not going to do any spins. I thought about doing some kind of airborne spin and coming down, but I was also thinking, well, what can we get done in 2 hours that maybe has some impact that's not going to be too, you know, too crazy. So I'm going to keep it simple tonight. So let me grab my my rig here. We got all of our controls here. I think we're good to go. And then let's go ahead and make a rough judgment. Rule of thumb, keep your character minimally movement, you know, or moving, I should say, for like the first 6 to 8 frames, and then you can start to go into an action. So I think it's not a bad idea to go maybe half a second. So we could figure, I'll put a placeholder key at 12 as a good starting point. And then let's go ahead and do our airborne pose. We're gonna do a timing pass anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I'm gonna put it at 24, so 1 second into the shot, and then we'll like I said, as I break down the blocking, we'll do a timing adjustment at that point. So cool. Okay, so again, our second pose, the airborne pose, it's kind of cool. It's a very squash pose, and that's kind of more or less kind of what I want to go for to some degree. Mine's going to be a little more stretched out, but we have a neutral pose that we're going to go down and move back into. So we're going to have somewhat more of an anticipation squash pose at the bottom of this movement. And then he's going to move up into the air where we can like start to develop our arc. Okay. And like I said, I'm going to probably keep the front foot higher and bring this back foot down a little bit to create more of a line of action from the torso down into the leg and give it a sense of directionality. That's really important to me, as well as I want to create that shape of directionality, back screen left, as he's moving through the air. And so I'm going to get into that pose, and I'm going to hold that pose as long as possible. And then maybe what we'll do is as he goes up, maybe I'll do some kind of sword flourish, get into a pose here or something like that. And then figure out our descent. Okay, cool. All right, pose 2. So let's go ahead and grab our cog mover here. And then initially, let's see here. Okay, I haven't done this in a while, but I'm going to try this. Oh my gosh. I have not been in Animator for a little bit here. Now I'm scared. Now I'm afraid. I believe we want auto transform or X form relationship. Okay, let's try it. We can always undo it. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Animator. There's some really cool stuff here for sure. But there's some other things too that kind of freaked me out. For example, in the course, towards the very end, as I'm polishing the shot, and I'm like really in polish, like I want to say 30 to 40 minutes from being done with it, I turned on the motion trail tool here, and it was really cool to go through and really fine tune all the sword tip motion and all my arcs, and just went through and just did a fine pass on it. But then I couldn't turn it off. So for the rest of the shot, it was just on. And luckily, when it play blasts, everything turns off, which is really helpful. But for the most part, I was just like kind of stuck. Okay, so this tool here, I'm going to grab everything that's going to have a translation to it. So I'm going to grab my cog mover, my sword control. I'm going to grab my left hand offset locator. And then the feet, I'm going to grab the feet. And actually, that's all we need for now. We don't need to really use that transform tool, really, until we're going to get into some pivot stuff, maybe later. So let's move him back. Yeah. Oh, you know what? I don't need that because it's in body space. Never mind. So let's grab the cog mover, left hand locator, and the feet. We don't need the sword because it's in body space. All right, let's just move him back here. What do you think? That's about right. It's pretty good. Initially, maybe higher. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let's see here. Yeah, why not? Works for me. We can always adjust it, right? Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start to get my pose here. Let's take out some of that slack there. And let's grab this leg here. Okay, cool. Let's keep that out. I'll keep the pull vector out. I'm going to bring this here. All right. So at this point here, our reference is pretty straight on. All right, so we're here. There's that freeform movement right there. I did not line that up very well. All right, cool. Let's see here. Let's think about how far we want to go here as well. Let's pull this foot back here, and then let's take this foot and then let's see here. Maybe I want to let's tuck this in a little bit here. Cool. All right. Let's get those pull vectors up here. I always forget the pull vectors every single time. So I'll grab the all my translates and then forget the pull vectors because, you know, they just get no respect, right? Okay, let's figure out what we want to do here. Okay, maybe on this move here, give him a little bit of rotation here just to get some torque in the body. Maybe. And then let's bring this down. See, here's where we're gotta get those gears thinking. I'm gonna bring this pelvis up here a little bit to support that left leg, and then bring it down here because we are giving ourselves slack for our bottom leg. And that'll help round that out a little bit. In fact, I'm going to turn off my curves here so we can see what we're doing here. Okay. Okay, grab that. And then I wonder if we want to keep the idea from the other drawing here a little bit. But I'm wondering if I can even stage it the way I want to, though, you know? So, don't know. Let's see here. Whoa. Wrong axis there. All right, what can we do here? I'm just afraid that pose is not going to read the same way. I mean, if nothing else, we can get a cool line of action out of that. Maybe. But let's see here. Hang on. I want to get some more curve out of the body here, which is tough. He's so elongated. All right, cool. Okay, let's try this. Now you probably see why this is not a good idea, probably for production, because you could burn a lot of time, right? Just kind of playing with stuff. And I think it's okay for the most part, but production's not the best place to experiment and practice. Right? Yeah, probably not. Probably not. I know what Ben's thinking. Ben's like, I practice all the time. Last time I talked to you, Josh, you were talking about doing, I think, a Stormtrooper thing, right? Another one? I'd love to see it. Let's see here. Every single time, right? Exactly. Okay. Let's do this. All right, let's grab that here. I'm wondering if I just want to keep some flow out of the body here at this point, because we could be here all night, you know, and we definitely want to keep this to no more than 2 hours, because people have lives, right? You guys have a life. Okay. You know what? Just because I want to see if I can get this down here a little bit and then crank that elbow up. Let's do that. Cool. Nice. So you're going full sequence. That'll be fun. What about you, Ben? You doing the thing you're doing right now is game, or is it more what? Yeah, right. That's it. There's nothing else. That's it. I totally understand how that goes. All right. Boom. Cool. Maybe through the top of this arc, we'll just bring this hand up and then kind of create like a noodle arm through here and then come down into our landing. Remember, we got to think about our arcs, right? Oh, cool. Okay. Game camera or cinematic camera? Cool. So you're doing probably more like a synced action, like an assassination or a finisher, a game finisher, I'm assuming. All right, let's do this. Okay. Yeah, I think for what you're trying to do, if I was to make an assumption, I would say go look at some of the Fortnite finishers. Probably not Mortal Kombat, but some of the old Halo stuff is good too. Okay, yeah, just kind of look at how they handle the camera stuff. Oh, and also Titanfall 2 has assassinations, and they're pretty decent. So, in fact, I think they're maybe my favorites. The old Halo ones are great too. And then the ones we're doing now for Destiny are fun too, but they're kind of a different thing. They're definitely more gameplay oriented. So you're doing something a little bit different, I think, especially 2 character interactions, whereas the Destiny ones are not so much interactions as they are somewhat synced, but we're just playing basically a ping and a death on the combatants. And then the player never touches the combatant. That's the big differentiation, I think, is there's no touchy. So, yeah. Oh, there you go. That's not a bad idea too, of course. Call of Duty. Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Okay. All right. Let's go into our third and final pose here. So the hang time is going to be a little bit longer here. Quick down quick up. So we'll figure that out later as we break this down. So let's go ahead and do for now. I'm just going to do 40 for now. It's not bad. Okay. Now, what we could do, we could probably go to our first pose here, and we could probably copy this pose to our third position, and then just take our translates and move everything back in Z, and then adjust our posing. So let's start with that, because you know why reinvent the wheel, right? You know what I mean? So yeah. Josh, I knew what you mean. The new, not the new. The more you know, right? Now you know more than you know what I mean. All right. I know that was kind of dumb, I know. So let's do this. Let's grab everything and let's just copy that pose. Why not? So we'll do that. And then let's take all of our translates again, and we'll just move them back in Z. We could probably just take advantage of just doing that. Oh, wait. See? Pole vectors. No love, man. I never give the pole vectors any love. There we go. Okay. Let's go back to our Z here. And then let's go back in our... That's probably too far. I don't want to go too big. Actually, you know what? I take that back, because we're probably going to step into this. Actually, you know what? Because I'm going to probably have enough momentum to cause him to come down with the right foot, left leg step, right foot, and then into our last pose, we probably don't want to go too high in the translation Y, right? Because the higher you go, what happens, right? We get more lofty, and we don't travel as far typically. So I would say keep it more, I don't want to say a line drive, but not a pop-up either, right? Okay. Yeah. So let's maybe think about, yeah, we'll start right there. That's good, I think. Okay. So now let's think about how we're going to finalize this pose here. So on this one, if we stick to kind of what's happening here, which I'm okay with for the most part, again, this is an exercise to how to get there. And also observing the pose in general, looking at torque, looking at how the character's positioned to camera. We want this knee to be kind of somewhat in. And so we want to basically to camera create almost a straight here, or a concave line of action, and then have that kind of loose side against more of a tension side, right? And so we're going to put the knee out here a little bit. We're going to have more of a negative space radiating from the hip out, basically. So let's look at those observations and think about what we're going to do there. And then we might adjust it just because we have a sword in our hand. And what are we going to do with the sword? Up? I don't know. We'll figure something out here. So we'll bleed the pose, basically. All right. So we're definitely more back on our back foot here. And then our other foot is pretty far out, actually. So let's find that balance here. And then let's grab our pole vector. See if we can, without creating too much drama in the pose here, kind of straighten that out. So our pelvis is going to be basically putting a lot of pressure on that back foot, right? So we're gonna basically go more Z this way, and then we'll go back. Let's see here. Let's look at what we got here. Feels pretty good, I think, for the most part. And then we can take this foot and just alleviate some of the pressure on that ankle. And then I love that we can basically use our controls here. One of the things I love about this rig is being able to like rotate my ankles to get that kind of support through the ankle up into the leg. As long as you don't go too far. All right, how's this looking here? He's got very long legs, very spindly legs. All right, let's do this. And then let's grab all right, so far I'm not digging this pose, so we got to find it. We got to find the pose, which I hate doing, right? Because hey, you know what? Check this out. We have a controller here. I have a controller here that lost its visibility. Whoops. You guys know how to get that back? I don't. It's very possible that I deleted the curve, but the control's still there, which I guess wouldn't make sense, would it? I don't know. You know what'd be cool is when he jumps up, he does a thing with the sword, lets it go or something, jumps to the air, comes down, catches it, and now he's like left hand ready to go. I like it. But that means I'm breaking my rules about getting too crazy with the ideas here, right? You know, you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes. All right, let's see here. Well, there's that clavicle. Bring that around. Those clavicles are very unforgiving, right? All right. Let's get some shape in here, maybe. One thing I'm always thinking about as well when I block, especially when I know I'm going to be going into blocking plus, or like what I call blocking breakdown, right, is thinking about how the mechanics are obviously creating the form of the pose, right? But I'm also thinking about how the mechanics are going to break down, so that when I break the poses down from 1 to 2, and I put some sort of momentum shift or some kind of pose breakdown that's going to introduce overlapping shape or follow through, then I want to always be thinking about how energy transitions into the poses and how it dissipates. All right. And so what I mean by that is, like for our landing, for example, thinking about how when I put that right foot down first and that pelvis is rocked up on the opposite side, how it's going to then shift over and the body's going to react to that as the left leg comes through the step, and then that right foot steps out and then rocks the weight back onto the back foot and then overshoots that pose most likely and then settles into the pose. And then where we're going to get torque through our jiggle factor, right? That boom, right? That overshoot, settle, and how all those things are basically just like a ripple in the water, right? They start at the origin and they move out. It's the same kind of idea. Where's the core movement happening? Where is it settling at, and then how are all of the appendages in the stack of the torso reacting to it, right? How are those things basically resolving the energy that's being pushed through them? Okay, so that's a good way to start to introduce follow through and overlapping shapes into your blocking, so that when you go into spline, it's already there. So something to think about. And of course, we're going to go into that fairly shortly here. All right, so how are we looking here? I think we want to, well, here, let's look at the neck here real quick. How's our neck? That feels pretty good. I don't want to go too far here. And then we might think about maybe a little bit lower here. And then I wonder, what if we push this down through here? I think I want to do that. Bring this through here. Let's keep this down. How far can we push this? Probably pretty far. Okay, cool. Sorry if you can hear my son back there. He's very loud tonight. Can you guys hear him at all? I can sure hear him. There's a good possibility that during the live event here, we're going to have a visit from him at some point, because he tends to visit class at least one time. All right, let's go. Where is our library at? All right. So I'm a believer in not reinventing the wheel. And so I'm going to grab our left fingers here. At this point here, go find our left fist. This looks pretty good. We have a couple half fist. We'll apply that as a good starting point. Now we've got that. That's nice of you to say, Josh. He's most of the time he's a good kid. Today was a little bit of a rough day. And so yeah, home from school today and nothing but energy while mom and dad worked our day jobs. So you know how that goes. Whew. All right, let's see here. This might be a little bit tighter maybe. All right, so let's do this. Let's grab our sword here. And we're going to no. All right. So let's do this. Let's go left hand. One. Oh, you know what? Let's do, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. 0. Okay, cool. Yeah, because I changed my mind, I should have just basically posed it afterwards. Let's see here. Boy, nothing like snapping way out there in the distance, right? Okay. Whoops. Whoops. Hang on. There we go. All right, now here's the problem. Do you see the problem? That's the problem. We got to bring that over. Left hand. Where are you? There you are. Okay, here we go. Okay. Oh, here, you know what? Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's grab our sword control and let's put it roughly where we want it, roughly. And then hope that this doesn't jack up my rotations on my offset too bad. This is sloppy. Yeah, I'm being really sloppy right now. Shame on me. Okay, let's bring you over here. There's probably much better ways to do this too, you know. It didn't leave the hand. When I switched the constraint, the controls were off somewhere else from before the constraint was turned on, and so I had to bring the hand back to the sword instead of the sword going to the hand, because the sword's running the hands. If the hands were running the sword would have popped to the hand, right? But when I turned the constraint on for the other hand, the IK control offset was over there somewhere, so I had to bring it back over. Make sense? Because the sword is what's driving the action. It's not the actual hand. So the sword is not going to go anywhere, basically. Does that make sense? All right. Cool. So let's choke up a little bit here. And then we can go in and fix all of our fingers later. Polish pass on that. Okay. Cool. Now, I think I'm going to create a little bit bigger line of action here. You guys, can you see it? Can you see like the flow from the front of this right foot, this thigh, up into the torso? It might feel better if we get a little more kind of maybe back and over this way, maybe, you know? So let's see what we can do there. Let's just try it out. As my manager always used to tell me, try it out. It might be awesome and it might not. These are the risks right here. I just want to get some more shape in there. Left, right, left, okay. Ah, I did it again. Sword. There you are. There you are. So I'm looking forward to getting more on the feature track as well, you guys, because I'm going to be doing a feature course as well. So pretty soon here I'll be working with my character designer and my rigger to get a feature character built, full facial controls, everything, the whole 9 yards. And then that's going to be super fun. I'm looking forward to doing that. I did an acting shot recently for a class, and it was so much fun to get back into that And so I'm dying to do it. Dying to do it again. Cool. All right, let's see here. I considered this guy. In fact, a little backstory. A little backstory. So this mask and the goggles was basically a solution to an issue where we decided let's not put a facial rig on this one yet because it's a body mechanics character. And I was like, well, let's see if we can cover his face so that there's no worry about kind of a dead face back there. And so I just jumped on the internet, started looking at like cool, goggles and stuff and face masks and things like that, like Bane and stuff. And then came up with just kind of this idea. And then not even 3 months later, COVID happened. And suddenly everyone's wearing masks. And I was just like, everyone's going to think this is like a COVID character. It was like the worst timing. So for a while I took the mask off because you can turn it off in the character. And I just didn't care for how the face looked kind of generic in there. So I turned it back on, but it's one of those things, right? What are you going to do? The timing of the world is just, it is what it is. So, yeah, but yeah, what are you going to do, right? So I'm not sure yet. So the thinking is I've got a couple ideas. I want to explore some ideas with this character body type, but change the entire thing. It wouldn't be the same costume. He would be, I'm thinking like a hoodie, with, I don't know. I want tennis shoes on him. I know that much. I want some big Jordans or something, So he's still gonna have a thin build, but I'm thinking like maybe like a hoodie with maybe a puffer jacket underneath or over the top of it or something. And then I'm thinking like maybe a ball cap or something with a big rim or something. I'm thinking just like something graphic that I can play with, So kind of thin arms, like a hoodie with like the bigger jacket on top. And then just kind of something kind of cool, So I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll see what I come up with. But that's the initial idea is to see what we can do with this guy right here first. And then just kind of explore that a little bit. And then I have another character. It's a work in progress. I'll have to show you that one before we wrap up tonight. So maybe like 10 minutes before we wrap up, like 10 minutes to 10, I'll crack open that rig real quick and I'll show you what's coming. It's a work in progress, but the model's done. The rig is almost done. So some of the coloring on the controls, because this one's going to have flags, not NURBS curves. There's going to be no NURBS circles or no NURBS controls on this new character. It's going to be basically geometry on top of geometry that you can select and you can position the character. And it's a body mechanics rig, but it's a game rig, and it's going to be cool. So I'm excited about this one. So yeah. So before we wrap up, I'll pop it in real quick, and you can get a sneak peek of where it's going. And hopefully it'll be done in the next, I don't know, couple of weeks. The guy I got working on it, he's really busy right now, and so he's squeezing me in on his own time, so it's been tough, Yeah, 90s big and baggy, sure. Yeah. Why not? I like it. I like it a lot. All right, let's get a little bit of tension here, maybe a little bit. What if we did pull vector in maybe? And then let's take this back a little bit. I'm trying to do something here without, I don't want to create a tangent too much here. All right, let's go grab our right fingers. And then let's go to our, again, go back to our hands here. Right hand. This is not too bad. There we go. The power of the library, right? Josh, I can't wait either, man. I can't wait to see this thing in action, because what I'm most excited about on this new rig coming is that I had the rigger build it like the game rigs I use. And so it's going to move pretty sweet. Pretty sweet. All right. Let's see what we got here. It's not too bad. Let's go a little bit more here if I can. That feels pretty good. He's got some hard edges that kind of makes it tough at times, but not too bad. All right, let's do, oh, I did it again. I keep doing it. Sword control. And then what if we just take this back and just go for straight silhouette right there. Let's not get that tangent there. We don't want that touching the head just enough that, you know, we got to go either behind it or above it. We don't want to just kiss the edge, because that's bad. We don't want to do that. Upper. Yeah. Okay, now, so this is what I'm kind of talking about. So from one angle here, we got a decent shape here. It's not too bad. From here, it's not too bad. But when I go right here, you start to see some shapes that I'm like, I'm not too much of a fan. So this is where we can start to think about how accurate are some of these shapes in reality, right? And so maybe we can just, at least if nothing else, take our X back a little bit and get some of the shape on the back end here to kind of clean that up a little bit, you know? And then let's take a look at our clavicle here. These clavicles are always super, super painful. They get really tricky really quick. And then here too as well, this right hand works pretty well to camera. Although now that I see it flow into the lower arm, it's clearly pushed away. We don't want that. We don't want to do that. That's not good. So we can either alleviate the tension on that arm by doing something like this, or we can change the pose altogether, right? And so again, we want to get that staging of camera just the way we want it. Pull vector. I don't know, how's that feel? Does that feel all right? I don't want to go too up either. I want to kind of flow. Yeah, I don't want to go up with the pull vector and down either. I want kind of somewhat of a straight through here. And we could also go into our noodle arms, our noodle controls, right? We could kind of, you know, pop them up a little bit and get some more shape in there. It looks like I've pushed the rig too far. Yes, I have. Okay, well, it's probably too much clavicle. I'd almost guarantee it. So I wonder, too much clavicle. Let's back off on the clavicle here a little bit, kind of give that geometry a break. And then what we'll do is we'll just go into our upper control here and try to compensate. Man, that gets tricky. It's a tricky area. That might be a good note for my rigger to just go through and soften those vertices right there. Yeah. Okay. We can forgive it for now, I think. Maybe. I just don't want to go too far in there. Because the more I rotate too, I got to bring the head with it. I got to start compensating back this way, right? You know? And so I just don't want to go that far, I don't think. Man, it was going so good too. It was going so good. Yeah, this is definitely where we unraveled right in here. That feels okay from there. Now, if only this was the camera, right? So easy. So easy. I'm telling you. Yeah, let's bring this out a little bit. All right, let's go back to our head here. That's our neck. All right. I've never tried this, but how does this look? If we cheat. Cheat and movement, right? Don't forget, right? Okay. All right, let's wrap this pose up. This is crazy. The way we're going tonight, I'm gonna have to make this a two-parter. How far can we go? All right, cool. All right, cool. All right, we'll start there. Well, right now I'm doing just one a month, but if it starts picking up, I might do 2 a month. We'll see. Well, the idea is that I would do Maya demos once in a while, and then I want to get into a position where I can start to critique work. So if people are doing the course and they want feedback, they can come here and I could do feedback sessions. Probably couldn't get to everybody, but I could probably pick out a nice wide variety of, this one needs work. Let's talk about why. This one's really nice. Let's talk about why. Here's a middle one that's kind of like got a lot of potential showing, but it needs some areas of work here. This part right here is great. And let's talk about why and kind of break things down. Do some analysis, you know, kind of go with the flow a little bit. But if nothing else, I want to give guys like you and other people just a place to kind of build the community and ask questions that they couldn't answer or couldn't ask otherwise because the course is recorded videos, you know. And so I just want to be available somewhat so that I can interact with students and just kind of, you know, kind of be there. So, yeah. But hopefully you guys will be there, you know. It might just be us for a while. It's kind of fun though, you know, so. But hopefully we'll get to a point where there's like, you know, 50 people in here and everyone's like, you know, meeting and greeting and talking about animation and whatever else, you know. It's kind of fun. Okay, so we have roughly our 3 poses, right? Roughly. This one needs work, but we're going to find it. We'll find it. So let's do this. Let's talk about how we're going to break this down, first of all. So what we're going to do is grab all of our controls here. Okay. So we're going to basically at this point give myself a little bit of anticipation slack to then move down and back away from. And so we could do it a few ways, right? We could probably just drop our weight and we could do a thing where maybe we rock our weight back on our front foot. So the heel digs in, toes come up, we drop our weight down and back, and then we push off of that front foot and then push off the back foot and go airborne, okay? Or I could do a small anticipation forward, little foot roll on the back foot, drop the weight, come down through a bottom mark, and then go up into the jump. And I'm thinking I might do that because that might be a little more fun to kind of pull the sword along and then kind of overlap it going back down. And so I think I'm going to try that. So let's just put an arbitrary key here. Of course, I'm not even stepped. Hang on. Let's fix that. Animation. We'll do linear stepped. Save that. And that's better. All right, cool. Let's do a once over, just make sure we've got everything. I think we did. Cool. All right, let's try that again. So we're gonna set a key here. Again, the frame number is arbitrary. You know, I don't really worry about it too much. So now here's where we start thinking about not only just moving poses around, but we're also thinking about how they move, right? Which is really fun. And so we'll start with the good old cog mover here. I want to go up and forward a little bit. I'll take the pelvis and I'm going to start to show kind of like that reaction. And we can tone that down, but it's not a bad idea to go a little bold at first. And let's collapse this over here. There we go. Get a little tighter in the obliques over here on the left side, right? So we'll kind of push that. We'll come back here. Let's do a little bit of foot roll here. And then we'll we'll also give this a little bit of lean here. And then we can start to, well, you know what we could do? We could probably yeah, maybe we'll do that. I want to go more. How far can I push it before I start destroying my geometry? Damn it, geometry. Cooperate, right? All right. Let's see here. And then I like to, you know, show a little bit of force everywhere. But we want to make sure we don't there we go. I'll make sure I'm putting the pressure right there on that back foot. Okay. All right, so then let's bring our sword hand forward and maybe drag it down a little bit. Clavicle up. Grab our left hand here, and we'll just kind of slack it a little bit. And then let's grab our neck control here. There we go. Grab the head here. All right. I want that back foot a little more static. Damn it. Just do what I say. It's a bummer when you always get a little bit of geometry creep in there. And I'm lazy enough just to counter it a lot of times, which is horrible. Don't do what I do. Don't do what I do. All right, so we got that. Okay, let's grab everything here, and then oops. Oh, keep on selecting. There we go. There we go. Let's just push this back a little bit here. All right, again, let's go to an arbitrary number here. I like to keep things somewhat symmetrical, but again, it doesn't matter. We're going to do a timing pass anyway. Okay. 1, 2, boom. Okay. So let's grab the cog mover because again, it's like our core movement, right? And then let's see here. Can I do opposite? I can. Let's bring the pelvis over a little bit here. Come back this way. Boom. Okay. Let's grab our torso here. Oh, come on. What's going on here? How's that geometry treating us? All right. Let's grab our pull vector. All right, cool. Let's go back down here now. Actually, let's take our whole foot here. Right IK foot. Let's just put it back to pre-roll here. And then let's do this. Let's do so we push our foot forward here. Yeah. So we can come back here. We can actually take this foot here and we can, I'm trying to think if I should just do here. Maybe not quite that far. That feels pretty good. I want to bring the pull vector on the knee a little bit in, but I don't want to compromise the foot too much in terms of where they're aligned to, right? You know. How would I fix the creep without manually countering it? I'm going to be very honest with you. I think I would know my controls better. There's the honest truth. Whew, got it off my chest. I think, honestly, I think it's a matter of, if I wasn't in a time constraint, I would probably sit there and I would probably noodle with all the controls to see if there's a combination of which ones. Because here's the thing, right? One thing I love about this rig is the foot roll system, but it's not perfect either. So for example, what I love, for example, is this kind of thing. I love that I can just select that control here and I can just foot roll, right? There's no set driven keys on the side of the, you know, foot roll, foot lean. That stuff does not exist here. So I've got some kind of decent controls here for my foot roll. And what it also gives me is it gives me the opportunity for other things too. Like I've got all these controls up here to kind of do all kinds of bendy stuff, right? You know, I can go through here and just kind of do like a really, you know, kind of noodly stuff. And then I can also go in here and I can put pressure on my pelvis, on my ankles, right? So I can start to get a little bit of lean in there. But it's not perfect because, as you can see, it kind of moves the geometry in the bottom as well, somewhat. And then the farther down we get down the foot, it gets a little worse, you know? So you got to do a little bit of counter there. And then obviously we're getting down here, it's even more so. And then we've got this one right here. It's just basically a pivot point from the front of the foot, right? Okay. And so I think some of that's just a byproduct of when some of those controls move, the geometry reacts to it because it's not locked off completely. It's not weighted out completely. So you're going to get some movement. And so it's just easy in some ways to just pop a translation in there to counter it, you know? So, I mean, in reality, if we sat here long enough, we might just come back and go, yeah, it's just the way it is, you know? Oh, well, right? And there's some cool functionality, of course, all over the place. But again, this is the main thing I wanted was this. I wanted that capability. And I wanted to be able to do some of that, you know? Yeah. Cool. All right. I went too far, didn't I? Can I undo rotate, and then undo some more? I don't know. It's all right. I pissed off the Maya gods. What are you gonna do, right? You're welcome. Where's my pull vector at? Cool. All right, now let's grab our sword here. Let's grab the pull vector. The tip is a little bit higher there. There we go. It's pretty good. We kind of want to pull the tip from kind of where it was, right, through our path of movement. So we got a little bit of compression here, popping back down here. I keep going back to this pull vector too. So maybe cool. All right. And then kind of gets down to how far do I want to go here? We can play with that. It's fine. head down, bring the head up a little bit here. So I'm already starting to think about like those drag, right? So head down, drop the head, or the body, I mean. Cool. Let's grab everything here. I'm going to do a stretch pose here where I'm going to show that last frame. We'll just, doesn't matter. Like I said, we'll put it here. Let's grab these two and this one. And then we're going to bring this one down we talked about already. So cool. All right. Now we're really like hunched over here. For this initial one here, I think what we need to do is actually bring him back this way, you know? We're going to start to push the pelvis back this way now because we're pushing away. We're going to grab this foot here. Let's see. Start to foot roll here. And then because I went ahead and used, was it this one? Nope, it was this front one right here. I'm going to probably continue this through here. And then let's go ahead and yeah, see that? It's just the way it is. Cool. All right, let's grab the pelvis, the foot. We can go more than that actually. Now I'm curious how this is going to react when I have to bring this back to 0, but you know what? It's okay. It's all right. All right, let's do this. Let's grab. Let's grab that. We'll zero this out. And then let's grab our pull vector here. All right, let's grab this pull vector. Boom. There we go. All right. One thing about this kind of character too is he's so thin, right? You just notice everything that's not quite perfect. You just really feel, you know. You know what I mean? You know. Cool. Now you can see our spacing right here is really big, right? It's a big spacing. And then our spacing here to here is not that much. Okay, so obviously we've got to think about our spacing. And also our timing is going to play into that as well, right? Because if one of the two don't really work, you know, you're going to feel it, right? Now, The nice thing about the spacing is that that's kind of simple in this case because we're airborne. So once we're airborne, once we've established our momentum through our translation Z curve, right, then it's pretty consistent until landing. And so we know that it's going to be a pretty straight line for the most part. And then once it comes down, we can feather it into a stop or a slowdown, whatever we want to do, because we can push against surfaces, right? But for the most part in the air, we got to figure out that spacing, and then we got to figure out our timing. And our curves will help us too, because once you go look at that translation Y curve, you can look at it and how uniform it is versus the translation Z curve and get an idea of like if you're in the ballpark or not, you know. So you kind of get to cheat a little bit, you know. All right, cool. Let's start with that. Let's get that pull vector up a little bit. And if I'm not making sense, make sure you just say something like, what? What are you talking about? Because I don't know what you're talking about. That'll help me help that situation. Pull this up here. Topical. Cool. All right. Sword control. Let's play with yeah. All right. Let's keep this somewhat simple here. Let's get this out here. Let's get that pull vector a little more prominent here. And then we're coming forward here. Yeah. Okay. So boom. So maybe what I'll have him do is, as he kind of comes up here, maybe I'll just have him kind of like flip it up and then just kind of like goes up in the air and he just like grabs it when he comes down or something. I don't know. We'll keep it simple. All right, let's get this just back over a little bit here because we want to make sure we don't have the head quite in the same spot where he's going to ease into quite yet. But we want some kind of lead into that. So we want a bigger spacing on the pelvis, less on the head, you know. Let's see here. All right. Boom. Okay. Trying to figure out that amount of arc there. All right, let's see. Let's grab these two. And can we get away with that? All right, let's try that. And then let's grab this. Cool. All right, now, how are we doing? We got 20 minutes. Jeez, time goes by so fast. All right, I'm gonna stop in a moment. And I want to break open the other rig and talk a little bit about that, and then we'll just put a pin in this one until the next one. Cool. All right. All right. And then what do I have for that left hand? Let's see. I got to add some more poses in here. Let's do left fingers. So I'm just grabbing my left fingers here, of course. And then I just want to get some movement and flow through the poses, you know? And so I'm just thinking about what I could do to kind of help create a sense of path of movement, basically, through that transition point. I'm going to come up into here. Cool. I like lines of action. Lines of action are good, right? I like them. Let's get this out of the way here. Let's get you out of the way here. Okay. Now, if you look closely here, we might have an initial problem here where we have established that we're going to go from here to here. And then I'm going to have to come around kind of through the front and then go down. We don't want to necessarily go diagonally forward and up and then diagonally back and down, right? Because it just becomes a very linear forward backwards. And so I'd prefer to kind of push and then drop my weight, which implies an arc. And so I either need to think about, well, actually we're okay probably. I just probably need a breakdown to help really describe that arc more. And so again, even in blocking and blocking breakdown, you're supplying information that will maybe help your director understand what the hell you're doing, right? Or maybe your supervisor or your lead, and give them information that's not too broken down at that point, but enough to give them an idea of like, okay, there's your arcs, there's where the weight's at, that's what the spacing's doing, here's how he's breaking down the mechanics, and here's what the poses are telling me, and what he's trying to communicate to the audience, and where's the entertainment factor, you know, is the appeal in the poses there, all those little things, right? Without breaking the shot down too much. And then what it does also is it helps you when you go into spline the shot, right? You want to be able to just like hit the spline button, and then everything's kind of there. It's linear, it's clean, it's not too heavy yet, but the timing's there. The spacing's not terrible, right? You know what I mean? So you want to be able to go in there and just kind of like tuck into the spacing, you know, tweaking all of your keys, all your tangents, things like that, right? You know? So ultimately, I probably want to put a breakdown down and forward of this position going into this one here, right? That's all. So that's what I was thinking about right there just now. Okay. Maybe a little bit more there just to create a little more roundness. A little bit of roundness. Never hurt anybody. Cool. All right. Geez, man, we could almost do a breakdown here on the contact pose where we kick up here with the left leg up, right leg dragging, and as we come down, we just switch, right? Maybe the left leg goes down, boom, contact pose, and then the right foot steps out, and then we just lock into our pose. That might be kind of cool too. So yeah, maybe we'll do that instead, because I like the idea of cycling the legs, but I also want to hold my pose as long as I can so that I'm also, and like I was talking about, imprinting poses on your audience, right? We don't want everything always soft and moving because it just never has definition. It never has anything for them to grab onto visually, right? So to me, it's always important to think about how long can I get away with a pose, or at least the implication of a pose. I want to imply that there's a pose there, right? So that when they're watching this action happen, they feel that moment and it kind of imprints on them instead of just like a bunch of weighty movement, which can also sometimes work. there are shots I can think of. I can think of one right now from Wreck-It Ralph where there's not really a pose in the entire shot. It's just a lot of movement and it works really well. So I think it just depends on what you're trying to do, right? But when we're doing heavy body mechanics with graphic posing, we don't want to cycle things too much and get a lot of movement in there, potentially, because we might lose the pose, right? So what we could do in this case here is get up in this pose here, hold this pose through our hang time, and then as we come out, then just as he's coming down, pop the feet opposite. Left leg reaches back behind him for contact, tippy toe, right? Right leg comes up, steps down. Not a big up, right? But just enough that we could get like a 1-2 pose, you know? So I'm going to put a pin in that. I think that's what I'm going to do next time. So yeah, cool. Okay. Let me save this real quick. I don't know if I've got my save set up here. I don't. Good thing I didn't do it. Let's go into here. Where are we at? I don't even know. Image files, QnA events. Here it is. Version 2. You guys got a little tour there of all of my course files. You guys are lucky. Okay. Cool. You guys good? Any questions? Let's do rain test. Here we go. All right, here's the rig in all its glory. Like I said, it's a work in progress. So let me give you a little tour of what's going on here. So this concept is called flags. And what it is, it's not NURBS-based controls. Cool. It's not NURB-based controls. It's like flags. We call them flags, where you can actually just select a transparent piece of geometry and you can move the character that way, you know? And so when Victor is done here, all this geometry will be uniform colors, probably more of a green and more transparent and a little bit more refined. Like again, it's a work in progress, right? And so there's some noodly stuff here he's going to probably have in here for the NURBS curves. I think actually these are probably geometry. If I look at here, yeah, this is all geometry. So there are no NURBS curves. And so he's working through this right now, and you can't really see the helmet, unfortunately. I don't think you can. Let's see here. What could I do here? Shading. I wish I could, you know. Yeah, this is how Bungie's rigs are set up, and it's my favorite. Keep in mind, like I said, this will not be yellow. I'm not sure why it's yellow right now, which is a bummer because you can't really see the rig. Actually, you know what? I might have a turntable. Hang on. Let me just go up here real quick. See what I can find, because I know I've got some stuff we were working on here. Let's see here. See if I can find it real quick here. This might be old. Hang on. Yeah, this is a little bit older, but this is kind of the idea. Hang on. That's the geometry's changed since then. Let's see. And this might be really old. Yeah, this is like super, super duper old. See, it's going through iterations. All right. Boy. Well, that might be what I have to show you. You may have to just look at that and go, oh, I see where it's going. You know? Let's see here. I'm going to give it one more try. thought we had posters. All right, that. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, it'll be a surprise for next time. There you go. But, oh, I don't know. Can I change the transparency? Where would I do that? I don't even know. I'm not really good with like under the hood stuff. So if you can point me to where that would be, because I know because it's all geometry, he's going to build me a script that I can just toggle the flags off and on so that I can see them on or off, and then build a picker, you know, if I want to. So if you want to point me in that direction, that'd be awesome. I wonder if it's in, would it be in here? Surface. Nope. I thought maybe, you know, I shouldn't mess around in here too much, but what are you going to do, right? Textures, I don't know, man. Yeah, I mean, let's see here. I don't even know. Cube shape. Let's start here. There's enough delay here that you're probably like screaming like, no, Mike, not there. There. Where? See head here. Pivots, display. Yeah. Yeah, man, I don't know. Let's see here. Mesh component display? Probably not. I'm looking for something with like, you know, a color box. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. This is gonna drive me crazy now. Because usually you just get, like, you know, anything with a color on it is going to be able to usually have like some kind of controls where you can play with the transparency of things. And I would have thought it'd be on the cube shape itself. Maybe it is. I think I'm just missing it. I don't know. But it's okay. You know what? It's okay for tonight. It doesn't matter. It's fine. It's okay. Yeah. So what I love about this rig though is that it has the pelvis. Check that out. Watch this. Ready? So you got a pelvis here. You got a mid body here. See that? No influence on the chest or pelvis. And then you got the chest. And that's what I love. And the reason why I love that so much, can you guess why? I'm curious if you can guess why. And you probably know why because I've probably talked about it before, but I'm just going to say it. I love the fact that I don't have to counter animate rotations. So I can literally put in a pose where this character's like punching, and I can overlap the chest by itself. And then I can go to the mid body control and move over and rotate that thing by itself, and then move over and then rotate the pelvis as if I'm like punching and all the energy is like moving down the torso, you know? And I don't have to worry about moving this thing and then this goes with it. And then I'm counter animating this thing. You know what I mean? I don't want to do that. And that's what I'm so excited about with this rig, is that I can literally use my cog mover just to move my character around in translation space. And then I can go in here and I can manually, you know, basically, whoops. I don't know what I did right there, but yeah, I turned something on. And then I can just pose every part of the body independently, you know, and I can do each one of them. Oops. Just want the pelvis there. independently. It's amazing, so. I think I broke everything. I think I broke it. But yeah. But for everything else here, it's pretty standard. It has the typical, controls here like foot roll. So there's no special rig on this guy. This is meant to be a rig that can be used in engine. So I believe we built him with a hierarchy that lives in a way that we can bring him into Unreal or Unity, because I wanted to possibly use him for a game course in the future. And I want to be able to do game stuff with him too as well. So he's just got, a basic rig like you'd expect. It's got some kind of fun stuff here you can do with like transitions. The pads and stuff are jiggle ready, and yeah, pretty cool. Awesome. It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it very much. So cool. All right. That should just about do it, I think. Do you guys have any last minute questions that I can answer? Anything you want to talk about real quick? Because now is the time to do it. Got a few minutes left before I got to go. Yeah, I think it should be good. Yeah, me too. And this will also be released too. I'm going to put this on the website when it's done. So this is going to be a free giveaway as well. So this will be just on the real-monster.com site when it's completed under the freebies tab. So you'll be able to get the Giro rig for free and also this one as well. So I'm not going to charge for it. So cool. Awesome. All right. You good, Josh? Right on. Yeah. Free. Yeah, man. Got to give back. So, it's like, if you think about it too, I'm asking people to pay for this course, right? And so I don't want to just be all about just pay for everything. I want to make sure that at least I'm giving people tools that they can use with it or use on their own too. And then all it costs you is your email address and your name, so I can throw the course at you later, just for that. But yeah, definitely. So anyway, cool. All right. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up for tonight, and then we'll call it quits for this first live event. So I want to thank you guys for coming out. Really, I appreciate you guys hanging out for 2 hours and spending time with me. I'll set up a time for probably next month. I might even do it sooner. We'll see. And then I'll basically go into round 2 with that shot, and we'll get into some of the more finer things with it, in regard to continuing the blocking plus part of it, and then going into spline. So cool. All right. There you go. Well, I appreciate it, you guys, and we'll talk soon. All right. Sound good? All right, guys. Keep in touch. We'll talk soon, and have a great rest of your night. All right. Take care, guys. All right. Bye.